Okay, guys. So today we are going to be practicing question 2. Remember, yesterday we started working on question 2 of the speaking section. We saw the format, we saw the template, some sample responses and stuff. So today we'll be practicing that question. So I'm going to show you guys the template again in case you guys don't have it or lost it, so that you can use it today, because I'm going to need everybody to use the template, okay? Exactly like it is. So please, if you guys don't have it, you could screenshot the template so that you could use it, so that you can use it today. Okay, guys, so please screenshot the template, and you're gonna need it today. You guys ready? Does everyone have the template? Okay. Is it ready? Do you guys have the template? Can anybody please give me some feedback, answer the question? Do you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, it is already.
Okay, guys. Okay, thank you, Christian. So, and in that case, let's start practicing. Remember, for this question, you first get the reading part, which is basically an explanation of a change, right? It could be a proposal for a change, an announcement of a change, and you have the change and 2 reasons in favor of the change. So when you're reading, you just have to remember what the change is, take some notes, and also identify the reasons just in case. And then when you're listening to the conversation, you gotta hear 2 students speak, identify who the main student is, identify his or her opinion, and finally, take notes on the 2 reasons that the student gives, right? Because you're gonna be, you will be summarizing the conversation mostly. So with that being said, we're gonna start practicing. Do you guys have any questions before we start? Okay. Then this is the reading part. Remember that you have 45 seconds to read. Please begin reading now. Okay. Now, the man expresses his opinion of the university's plan to eliminate the bus service, state his opinion, and explain the reasons that he gives for holding that opinion. You guys will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses.
Andrea, I don't know, but I couldn't listen to the conversation. I don't know if there was a mistake or only for me.
Yes, I'm just now realizing that, yeah, I didn't share my audio. Why didn't you guys tell me anything when we were playing it? I'm so sorry. My bad. Okay, guys, I'll play it again. I'm really sorry again.
I don't like the university's plan.
Really? I've ridden those buses, and sometimes there were only a few people on the bus. It did seem like kind of a waste.
I see your point, but I think the problem is the route's out of date. It only goes through the neighborhoods that have gotten too expensive for students to live in. It's ridiculous that they haven't already changed the route, so it goes where most off-campus students live now. I bet if they did that, they'd get plenty of students riding those buses.
Well, at least they're adding more parking. It's gotten really tough to find a space.
That's the other part I don't like, actually. Cutting back the bus service and adding parking's just going to encourage more students to drive on campus. And that'll just add to the noise around campus and create more traffic. And that'll increase the need for more parking spaces.
Yeah, I guess I can see your point. Maybe it would be better if more students used the buses instead of driving.
Right. And the university should make it easier to do that, not harder.
The man expresses his opinion of the university's plan to eliminate bus service, state his opinion, and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, guys. So, who wants to go first?
I could do it.
Okay, Christian, of course. Go ahead, please.
Well, the student in the conversation is against of the idea of the elimination of the bus service to the university campus. First, because he says that the routes to the neighborhoods are expensive. So he thinks that the university should add more routes in order to make it more affordable. And with regard to the other reason of the expansion of the parking lots for students, he also thinks that this is a bad idea because this is going to increase the traffic to the university, and it's also going to make it more expensive. So he thinks that the university is making it more difficult to arrive there.
Okay, good. The university is not making it more difficult. It's making it more difficult to use the buses, right? Instead of encouraging the buses. Well done, though. So your introduction was good. You had the correct change. He's against the idea of eliminating the bus service, right? Careful with the word against. Remember, you don't need any prepositions. So you don't need to say against of, just against. So he's against the idea or he's against the elimination. And then the content was good in general, but maybe there was some inaccuracies. Like, for example, in the first part, you said that the routes are expensive, right? But it's not that they're expensive. Instead, they are outdated. So they go to places where students don't live anymore, right? They don't go to the places or neighborhoods where students live. So they are outdated, they are out of date. They should update the routes, change the routes, so that more students are going to use the buses, right? Instead of making them more affordable, they should change the routes according to the student. So careful with the content, similar to the second one, right? It's not that it's going to be harder to get to the university, but the university should not encourage driving. Instead, they should encourage using the bus service, right? So by adding more parking lots, they're just going to encourage driving. So that's what the student says. Careful mostly with the content because everything else was really good, in terms of grammar, the way you manage your time, delivery. I like the way that you were connecting ideas. Like, for example, when you say, in regards to, and then you mentioned the reason from the reading, that's a great way of connecting the ideas. So the only thing I could tell you is be more careful with the content, with the information that you get. But overall, it was a good response. Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You guys have any questions so far? All clear? Okay, guys, awesome. Then let's do another one. It will be exactly the same. You have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the announcement.
Do you believe any of this? It's ridiculous.
What do you mean? Well, it is important to eat healthy foods.
Sure it is. But they're saying yogurt's better for you than an omelet or than hot cereal? I mean, whether something's hot or cold, that shouldn't be the issue. Except maybe on a really cold morning. In that case, which is going to be better for you, a bowl of cold cereal or a nice warm omelet? It's obvious. There's no question.
No, I'm not going to argue with you there.
And this whole thing about saving money.
What about it?
Well, they're actually going to make things worse for us, not better. Because if they start cutting back and we can't get what we want right here on campus, well, we're going to be going off campus and pay off-campus prices. And you know what? That'll be expensive. Even if it's only 2 or 3 mornings a week, it can add up.
The woman expresses her opinion of the change that has been announced, state her opinion, and explain her reasons for holding that opinion. You will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so please, Micaela, you can go
Okay.
now.
The student in the conversation is against the idea of eliminating hot breakfast. First of all, she explains that the idea doesn't work in cold mornings because and those days is better omelette or hot cereal. In addition, she believes that it could be more expensive since students prefers to go out of the campus to buy hot breakfast instead of the cold breakfast that offers the university.
Exactly, great. Perfectly the structure, right? Instead of the cold breakfast that the university offers, right? Remember, it's different from Spanish to English. And also careful with the grammar part, the tenses, right? This isn't something that's happening right now. It's something that will happen as a plan for the future. So they will go out of campus to buy hot breakfast instead of what the university will offer, right? Careful with the tenses, the grammar. But overall, well done, Micaela. Really liked your response, the way you managed your time, your introduction. The content was really good. Maybe what I will try to do is always focus on the most important ideas. So for example, in the first part, the second idea was actually great, so no problem there. But in the first idea, for example, you said you started good. This idea doesn't work in cold mornings, okay? Because the students prefer to have hot breakfast, right, when it's cold. So maybe instead of adding the details, like giving the examples of a hot omelette or a warm bowl of cereal, maybe talk about something else that they said was that healthy food is not necessarily going to be cold, right? So whether something's healthy doesn't depend on whether it's cold or not. So I think that was an important point, especially because that's what the university says, right? That this is going to be healthier options. So maybe I will just do that, skip some details and focus on the most important ideas. But overall, it was good. Also careful with the grammar part. But great way to start, Micaela. Great response.
Thanks.
Perfect. Do you guys have any questions so far? All right, then let's go with this one. It's the same. You guys have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the article.
I just don't think this will work.
Why not?
Because it's not going to solve the problem. Students are busy at night. I mean, we have jobs, families, clubs, social events. Most of us already have something to do every single night of the week.
I see your point. I sure couldn't fit anything into my schedule during the week. I've got swimming practice most nights.
Right. And as far as expense goes, I think they're going about it the wrong way. I mean, it costs money to hire more teachers and keep the academic building open later, which is a lot more expensive than just simply buying more computers.
More computers?
That's right. Computer prices have come way down the past few years, so the department won't have to spend as much now as they did in the past. Besides, the computer department classrooms, the rooms themselves, they're actually very big. There's plenty of space to add more computers.
The computer department is considering a scheduling change. Explain the man's opinion of the change and the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Elizabeth, please.
Okay. The student in the conversation is against the idea of offering evening computer classes in the fall. Uh, First of all, he explains that keep the academic building open later uh, because it's a lot more expensive than just simple buying more computers. Um, that's all. Sorry, I didn't understand the audio very well.
Okay, no problem. If you don't have anything else to say, at least you know the opinion, right? So go with a conclusion. Tell me, these are the main reasons why the student feels that changing the schedule is not really a good idea, right? To make the time. But it's good. It's okay. Your introduction was good. You will identify the change well. Now, as for the content, yes, I can see that you had some problems understanding the reasons, right? Because you kind of mixed them both. You said that keeping the academic building open late, but you didn't say what about that, right? And then you talked about buying more computers, which is something that he said. So basically what he said, remember that one tip that I can give you guys for understanding, aside from practicing your comprehension skills, so obviously you guys, if you have problems understanding the listening part or the reading, whatever it is, then you need to work on that, right? Work on your listening comprehension. Listen to different types of content at different speeds, with subtitles, without subtitles, with a transcript on, with visual help, without visual help. But practice listening, right? And surround yourself with listening as much as you can. See, vocabulary may be a problem. But aside from that, aside from practicing your comprehension skills, one thing that can help you to understand better the listening is to always remember that you know the structure. If you understand the two reasons here, then you can somehow find a way to say something without understanding everything from the listening, right? So for example, here they say, uh, this is the most cost-effective way of addressing this problem, right? By adding computer classes in the evening. So this is related to what you said, Elizabeth, of buying more computers. The student says, well, instead of adding computer classes in the evening, it would be better, it would be more cost-effective to just buy more computers because there's enough space and they won't have to hire more professors, they won't have to open the building late. So it's cheaper to just buy more computers, according to the student. So this is related to this reason. So when you guys understand the reasons here, it will be easier for you to understand the reasons in the list. So just work on your comprehension skills, use the reading, and make sure that you always say something. Okay? Do you guys have any questions so far? Not clear? You guys, let's take a look at this one here. It's exactly the same. You have 45 seconds to read the text.
Did you see that article?
Yeah, and it sounds like a great idea. It's really good for the students in that program.
Don't they cook in class anyway?
Well, yeah, they do. But my cousin was in the program a few years ago, and she said that it's very different to cook for a lot of people in that kind of atmosphere than to cook for classmates.
Why is that?
Well, in class, you can take your time, but cooking for more people, there's more pressure. I mean, you're in a rush, people are waiting, and it might be easy to make a mistake with all that stress.
Then they'll think you're a bad chef, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, it's good practice. But what about the extra cost?
Well, look at it this way. You've eaten at some of the fancier restaurants in town, right?
Yeah, there are some great places to eat around here.
Well, these students, they'll be making fantastic meals, and it's going to be cheaper than going out to one of those restaurants.
Much cheaper, actually.
So, it'll be worth it. The meals will be as good as the ones in those expensive restaurants.
So the man expresses his opinion about the university's plan, states his opinion, and explains the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, guys. So, Carolina, please.
Okay, teacher. Okay, the man is in favor of making the students preparing dinner because the university wants to uh, make them practice, and the boy in the conversation is in favor it because he said that it is very important that students can practice, and also they're gonna have the experience because it's not the same cooking for the students as cooking for a big amount of people, right? And the other fact was that the university is going to ask for a fee, but the man thinks that it is not a high cost enough because if they look for a fancy restaurant or something like that, a dinner like that is going to be, it would be a little bit more more expensive than it could be in the university.
Okay, great, Carolina. Well done. So content was perfect. You showed that you understood both points, the change as well. So yes, you talked about students practicing and gaining experience for cooking for a larger audience. And you also talked about the price, right? The cost is worth the while because it's the same food that you would eat in a fancy restaurant, but it's actually cheaper than eating in a restaurant. So great. I don't think I have any comments. The only thing I'd say is just try to use the template or try to at least follow the structure of the template, right? So instead of telling me, and the other fact is that, tell me additionally, in addition, furthermore, the student believes that, or the student also mentions that, the cost is going to be worth it, right? So just that, make sure that you use a template or you follow its structure. So when you have a transition, use a transition, and that'll be the only thing I'd say. Careful with the time too. You need it like a couple more seconds. But that's something that you get used to. Well done, Karina, thanks. Okay, guys, let's continue. Let's do this one here now. You have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the letter.
I totally disagree with Tim's proposal.
Why?
Well, look, Tim's my friend, but he's not your typical student. He stays up late partying every night, weeknights too.
If he parties every night, no wonder he can't pay attention.
Yes, and most students aren't like that. They come to class prepared and rested, and they can concentrate.
So you're saying the problem is really Tim?
Yes, he was in one of my classes last year, and whenever I looked at him, he was actually sleeping.
I guess if he's sleeping, he can't really know what's happening, what other people in class are doing.
Right. And you want to know what does happen in that last hour of seminar? In a lot of seminars that I've been in, that's when things get interesting.
Really?
Yes, that's usually when students get really involved in the discussion and start exchanging important ideas. And if the history department actually did what Tim suggests, well, if they did that, what would happen is you'd lose what might be the most worthwhile part of a seminar.
Okay. So the woman expresses her opinion about the proposal that her friend Tim made in his letter to the newspaper, states his opinion about his proposal, and explain the reasons she gives for her opinion. Now you guys will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, guys. So, Christian, please, go ahead.
The student is against her friend's proposal of shortened history seminars. First of all, she thinks that he is not valid. He has not a valid opinion because he is a student that usually sleeps at the classes and also is constantly goes to Paris all the nights. Additionally, she says that the students can concentrate at the seminar during these hours, 3 hours. And also she thinks that, she explains that the last hour of the seminar is the most interesting and students get involved in these last hours. So it would be a failure or a bad idea to shorten the history seminar.
Okay, good. She said that it would be a bad idea, right? It's not your opinion. She says it would be a bad idea. Well done, though. Content was great. In this case, the information you gave was pretty accurate. You talked about the fact that the last hour of the seminar is the most important hour according to her. And also that the students, normal students can concentrate, right? It's just Tim's problem. So both reasons were there. They were correctly expressed and summarized. And the template was also good. You used those transition words to separate the ideas. The change was also good. So I don't think I have any comments for your response. It was really great. Nothing to say. Well done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys, great. We did this one. All right, let's continue. This is the other one. You have 45 seconds to read the text.
Now listen to two students discussing the university's plan.
This article? Are they serious?
Yeah, I think so. Why?
Well, first of all, a lot of kids aren't looking for a relaxing break at lunchtime. They like to study while they eat, especially if they have exams coming up or some assignment they have to get done.
Yeah, that's true.
And now they won't be able to concentrate. This is going to be very distracting.
Okay. Yeah, I see your point.
And second, most students don't like classical music.
It's certainly not what I listen to.
So are people going to stop listening to their own music?
No.
I think people are going to be even more likely to bring their MP3 player, to play their own music and block out the classical stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. The man expresses his opinion about the university's plan, state his opinion, and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So please, Michaela, you can start now.
The student is against the university's plan. First of all, he explains that it could be distracted for students who have exams or tests. Additionally, he believes that classical music doesn't like to everyone. So those students going to prefer to listen their own music with her headphones or MP3 players. In addition, these are the main reasons. These are the main reasons.
Okay, good. Not in addition, right? You can say in conclusion, these are the main reasons, or in summary. Well done, though. Good job. So I can see that you understood both reasons. You said it could be distracting for some students who want to prepare for exams, complete assignments. And second, not every student likes classical music, right? So they're gonna play their own thing. It was good, but what I would say your response was missing was some context. You forgot to mention what the plan was, right? In the introduction, you said the student is against the university's plan, but you didn't mention what it was. So imagine that somebody who didn't read or listen to the conversation, that they wouldn't be able to understand, right? So make sure that for giving the context, you mention the change. The student is against the idea of broadcasting classical music during mealtimes. That will give everything more sense, right? She believes that the music, will be distracting for students. So maybe that's one thing that I would change. Maybe some grammar points as well. So for example, same thing as before, the order of the words. You said classical music don't like students, right? But it's the students don't like classical music. Careful with those things. Also the pronouns, instead of when you're talking about the students, make sure that you use plural pronouns, right? Their music, they are gonna put their headphones on. So that's what I would say. Mostly make sure that you give the context. Maybe you could connect ideas a little bit more too with the reading, but in general, it was a good response, not bad.
Thank
Is it okay? Of course. Any questions so far? Hey guys. So let's do this one now. It will be the same. You have 45 seconds to prepare to read the text, sorry.
Two students discussing the announcement.
Read this announcement?
Yeah, and I disagree. I don't think it will actually help students.
Really? Why not?
Well, they talked about leadership and organizational skills, but that's not really the kind of work you do. Like my older brothers have the kind of jobs they're talking about, and typically you're just there to do basic tasks like typing or filing stuff. Nothing very meaningful.
Oh, so you wouldn't actually learn anything new.
Exactly.
I guess I see what you mean. But what about the other point they make?
About this helping us after we graduate? I don't agree.
How come?
Well, the problem is that there are lots of other universities in our area that have the same requirement, so there are lots of other students at these positions.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that.
So even if you take a position like this in a company while you're still a student, once you graduate, the competition for permanent jobs will be impossible. I mean, there just won't be enough jobs available for all the business graduates in the city who will be looking for full-time work.
I see what you're saying.
So the woman expresses her opinion of the university's new policy, state her opinion, and explain the reason she gives for holding that opinion. You will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Elizabeth, please. Are you there, Elizabeth? Okay, I think maybe she's having some problem. Okay. Then Carolina?
Okay, teacher. Okay, the woman disagrees about the program that the university is going to, that is showing, because she thinks that students are not going to get skills about leadership or these kind of things, right? Because whenever they get into a big company, they are going to make activities like typing or something like this. And also, she thinks that the probabilities that getting or making lashes with the companies are not always sure, because there are lots of programs that send students. So it is not probably that the students will get a big lashes, really.
Okay, okay. The students will get lashes? Do you mean connections, right? Or bonds? I don't know.
Yes, connection. I couldn't find the word.
Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, well done. Good response. So I mean, your understanding is great. You talked about the two ideas. You mentioned the correct change. She is not in favor of the program, the new policy, the new program of sending students to work for companies, right? And you talked about the two reasons. So students are not going to develop these skills that the university thinks, like leadership or organizational skills, because of the type of work they're going to do, right? As you mentioned, they're just going to end up typing or doing not very meaningful things. And second reason was also good. It's very unlikely that this is gonna actually help them get a job after they graduate, because there are many programs that do the same. So there are many students, the competition is high. So maybe what I could comment on your response, first, being careful with the introduction. Don't say disagree. Try not to say disagree, because usually when you say disagree, it's either an opinion. It's for an opinion, right? I disagree with your opinion. I disagree with your view, or with you in general. And don't say disagree about either, right? Try to use a template. She's not in favor of the new policy. She's not in favor of the new plan or of the new program, or she's not in favor of the idea of sending students to work, right? So careful with that. Also, try not to say phrases or use phrases like something like this or right, because they may sound a little bit vague, a little bit ambiguous. Well, those are some things I could say. Also remember probability, probable, likely, for your vocabulary. But overall, it was a great response. I mean, there are some just details such as the introduction and those words, but overall, it was, I would say, a really good response. So thanks, Carolina. Guys, any questions so far? Good, let's do one more before we go. It's the reading part. You have 45 seconds to read.
Now listen to two students discussing the letter.
Mary, you're an art student. What do you think of this letter?
I don't like the idea.
Why not?
Well, first of all, his first point about a lot of people passing through the student center, that's true, but it's always really crowded with people coming and going. It's not good for showing artwork. Imagine you're standing there, trying to look at a painting. There's going to be like a million people walking through. People walking in front of you, blocking your view, distracting you.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
You won't be able to appreciate the artwork or get a good look at anything with so much going on, with so many people moving around.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Plus, he's wrong about the windows.
But isn't it true that it's good for art to have lots of light?
In a sense, yeah. But that kind of light, all that natural light from windows, that's actually not good. Because if it's really sunny out, it'll be way too bright. If it's cloudy, it'll be way too dark.
Oh.
What you want is controlled light, consistent light, the kind you get from electric light bulbs. Think about in an art museum. In an art museum, you've got electric lighting, and the light is always carefully controlled, always at the same level.
Okay. Now briefly summarize the proposal in the student's letter, then state the opinion of the student in the conversation about the proposal, and explain the reason she gives for holding that opinion. Now you will have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, guys. So who wants to go? Any volunteers?
I could try.
Yes, sure, Christian. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The student is against of the display of art in the university facilities. First of all, she thinks and explains that in those areas, there are many people coming, going, walking, so the paintings are not going to be well appreciated um, for other students. Additionally, about the natural light, he says that this is a bad factor because if it's too sunny, it would be too bright to see the paintings, or if it's cloudy, it will be too dark, so you're not going to appreciate. She explains that the light should be a controlled light by electric bulbs, such as in the museums.
Okay, perfect, Christian. Well done. Really well done. I mean, everything was great. I don't think really I have to say anything, any comments on anything. Content was good. The understanding of both ideas, both the fact that art will be well appreciated, as you said, because of the phase that because of the fact that so many people are coming and going, right, in the lobby, and also your second point about the light, right, and how you gave the details, the relevant details. I like the fact that you gave the examples of if it's too sunny, if it's too cloudy, and then you concluded with the idea that you need control light, right? So I don't have any comments. One tiny comment, tiny detail, maybe. Careful. In the beginning, in your introduction, you said that she's against the idea of having or of displaying art in the university facilities, right? But she's only against the idea of displaying this art in the lobby, only in the lobby, right? Maybe she thinks that they could use other parts of the university to display the art. I think that's an important point, right? Because the light is, it comes from the windows, right, of the lobby, and also the fact that it's crowded is related to the fact that it's the lobby. So just that, careful with that, with those pieces of information. Maybe one suggestion I can give you is in the introduction, it's okay if you copy and paste from the text, so that you avoid like changing the information, because either way you're gonna use your own vocabulary later when you're explaining the reasons. So here, you could use exactly the same words as you have. That's the only thing I'd say. The only tiny detail, maybe, but it was a perfect response, Christian. Well done.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. So what do you guys think now? Do you guys have any questions, any comments, any observations, suggestions? Everything clear? Okay, guys, then please, before you go, today we actually have to fill out 2 surveys. So don't go yet. I'm sending you all the first one, the usual one. But when you guys are done, I will launch the other one too, so that you can complete that one as well. So don't go yet, please. I'd appreciate it if you can stay for a moment. Okay, thank you so much. That was fast. I'm sending you the other one as well. And that would be it. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll continue working on the speaking section. Thank you again for filling out the surveys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.